Hey, here's another crazy thought for you guys. Trust should not be earned when it comes to relationship. It shouldn't be. Now, I understand in the business field, I understand just any other field, but trust should not be earned when it comes to relationship. Why? When we talk about trust being earned, we actually don't have a process for anyone to earn it. The way we build trust is based on what the person did not do. They did not betray me. They did not talk about me. They did not, cheat on me. We usually build trust based on that. Now, there is a positive aspect where we count longevity, the time of loyalty, and things of that nature, or any type of support like moral support, financial support. Over time, you look at a person, you say, man, I trust you because you've been there. You've never done anything wrong to me. You were there when I needed you. You were supportive when I needed you. And those are usually what we use to build trust. So, but more importantly, we look at the negative things a person did not do. So, what happens when it comes to relationship? Well, when it comes to relationship, I believe the best way to build a healthy relationship, you have to start on a clean slate. Now, if you want the person to earn your trust, it's not a clean slate because what are you comparing that to? Longevity? Well, longevity doesn't have the opportunity yet. Betrayal? Well, that doesn't exist yet. When people say you have to build, you have to earn the trust, usually they're saying, in a sense, it may not be true, but they are saying by that statement is that you have to earn it and you have to go against my trust issues. Let's say I don't believe men who hide their phone is loyal. So then you have to work against that. Before I go into it, obviously I have to tell you what I believe in terms of that. I believe trust is established. That is one of the thoughts that I always have, or something I always operate by. When I meet someone, I want you to be on the clean slate, not based on what the person is, because then we start to make prejudgment that can be wrong. Let's say you start with a man who, let's say he's fit and he has a certain pattern that's similar to your ex. Then it's easy to associate that and not trust him based on certain things that they do. Now, I'm trying to make sure I clarify it a lot better. The best way to say it is when you do not trust someone from the beginning, they do not start on a clean slate. Then they're working in the negatives, and they have to work their way up. So that means they have to do something, that is most likely you're comparing them to an ex or anybody in your history. They have to do this that's different. They have to treat you a certain way that's different. They have to treat you with something that does not correlate to whatever you've had or attach or make kind of trigger you from whatever you had in the past. So what this means is if they do not do things that are different or things that you associate with loyalty or positive, then you start to put them in a negative. Now, if someone start in the negative, it's harder to work up. If you start, let's say you're like, okay, I'm not gonna trust men. I'm picking on you women, but I'm not gonna trust men. So then you meet a man and let's say he doesn't want you to go through his phone. Then you think about it like, well, why doesn't he want me to go through his phone? Should I even trust that? Was there an issue? Then you start to associate different thoughts or experiences with it. So you're like, well, maybe he's cheating, maybe he's something. Some people go to the extreme of like automatically that's a cutoff, no tolerance, you're cheating, or either I see your phone. They never associate maybe it's the fact that you don't have an established relationship yet. This is new. I don't want you to get all in my personal details because we're just starting to talk. They don't. A lot of people don't associate that right there and then mentally. It's more of like, well, what are you hiding? Because the last person was hiding this from me, or what is going on? And it is good to be wise. Again, I'm never against wisdom. If you follow my content, you say it's good to be wise and it's good to observe and make good assessment. But I think when it comes to starting someone on a dirty slate or in a negative, you do not make a fair assessment because everything is already working against them. So how do you establish trust? Well, trust itself doesn't take much work to establish. It's more of, we are together. You haven't done anything, any red flag that say we shouldn't be together. So the more we continue with each other and build a bond, the more there's trust established. And bonding is just spending time seeing what we like, agreement, seeing what disagreement may not pull us apart, and it's not necessarily the extreme positive, but it's the positive and it builds over time. And the best way for trust to actually, the proof of trust is how long you've been with a person, you're able to do things with them, and you have no fear. You have the check is there's no fear that this person is going to do this with me. I mean, behind my back. It's fear that is also a measuring stick when it comes to that. Now it is hard, and this sounds good in theory. It's hard for you to start and say, "Look, I'm going to trust everyone," when you've had people who stab you behind your back and people who've hurt you so many ways. But when I posted online and I mentioned that, look, if a woman is starting the man in the negative, it's so much for him to work towards. Because especially if let's say the woman hates men and everything, she's been wronged so much by so many men, I'm sorry, that there's so many things that have certain triggers in her, and here you are, you're coming and she's not healed enough, you're starting in the negative, and despite how hard you work, there's still a trust issue, or the trust factor that exists, where it's more of like, well, where is the line that I can start becoming in a positive and show you that I really trust you, and really we can establish trust. Now, how much, when I get in the positive, let's say, and I start building trust, how far can I get? Now, what is the whole point of this? The whole point is try your best to start everyone on a clean slate. A clean slate can be zero, which word, that's what someone mentioned. Zero mean you don't have any negative or any positive. Try to start them at least there, if you do not see it on a positive, because it's hard for people to date us when we already have strike or certain biases against them. And men, as a man speaking for men, when it comes to my content, it's hard when so many men have wronged you as a woman, and we're trying to come in and show you that we have to work on being different and work on being ourselves. Now, if it's on a clean slate, we just have to be ourselves. But sometimes some men are working to showing that, look, I am truly different. I do not have any hidden agenda. And usually, women say, well, over time you win. But sometimes there are people who have trust issues and there are baggages that take forever. And I'm not saying every man should work on actually convincing this woman. Sometimes it's just best for you to leave and say, look, that's something you have to figure out. But if you start, there is sometimes relationships that do have the potential, and what happens is that starting in a negative just doesn't work. So if you ask me anytime, when it comes to relationship advice, I'm always gonna say, start off by trusting people. Do not be gullible and believe everything or be naive, but start off by giving everyone a fair shot. Like, look, you haven't done anything to me yet. Although you may be like the people who have done some things to me, or something wrong, or done me wrong. You may be like those people. Something about you may trigger that, but I'm gonna be careful with you. I'm gonna be wise. I'm gonna make sure I make true assessment and not let my emotions be clouded. However, I am not gonna put you in a negative and come from the perspective of like, you may be hiding something, you may be out to hurt me, or you may be out to use me, or whatever it may be. Once you do that, it's hard to give any relationship, any love story, room to build. So that's my idea on trust. Trust shouldn't be earned. Now in business, obviously you have money. There's more. There's not heart really involved. You need track record in business, because business is business. That's why I always say don't mix personal with business. But when you're talking about emotion, you're talking about hearts and things of that nature, you want to give it a clean slate where you start at a place where everybody could build. And of course, when something happens, like there's a check mark, you're like, a red flag, you're like, hey, look, I need to check this. Again, I will always say, don't be naive, but don't be unfair to someone who is trying to love you, or possible relationship. Now, if you're not open to love, I always have disclaimer. do whatever. But if you're trying to build a healthy love, you have to start on the right foot. And the right foot is making sure you give that person a clean slate and they have time to prove themselves, not time trying to earn, keep scoring, try to work their way up. So that's what I had to say. Definitely drop your comment. I would love to hear from you to see what you think of this. So drop your thoughts below.